What is going on, people? I've got a couple of things to show you. In my last video I talked about my pumpkin and how I saved the seeds. So I'm going to do a video on saving seeds in general of this type of fruit or vegetable, whatever you want to call it. So it's the same with squash, zucchini, etc, etc. The reason I'm only making this video now is because when I tried it I didn't actually know what I was doing, so I didn't know if it would work. So I didn't want to show people something that they might copy and might not work. But it has worked, as you saw in my last video. I showed you all of the seeds that I've saved. So with my last pumpkin, I'll show you, be split into two I think, how I make my little pumpkin winter soup, and I'll show you how, when I harvested this I was in a rush, so I just chucked it straight outside. So this has been sat outside, as you'll have seen, in my little greenhouse. I hope it's sensible enough inside that I can save the seeds. And then once I've done that, I'll show you how I make the soup that I make with these. So let me just wash this off and then I'll be right back with you. Right, so here we are with my pumpkin. As I was saying the other day, it's just move that aside. It's been outside since end of September, maybe early October. So I'm not 100% sure what it's going to look like when I cut it open, because it's middle of January now. However, we're at the moment of truth. Let's give it a go. This is the biggest knife I have, unfortunately. That's not bad at all. That is not bad at all. So first things first, I have a big spoon lying around. I'll scoop out all of the seeds. I'll only do it with half actually. Apparently they stay fresher if you leave the seeds in. It smells lovely. I'm not sure that's the case. So the soup that I make, I blend, so I have to make sure that I scrape everything out, because otherwise you blend the seed and it has a bit of a gritty consistency, so you have to make sure everything is out. Now all you need to save the seeds is a towel and a brown bag. I have saved seeds before, but the reason it didn't work was because I used to, silly really, but again you learn, you live and you learn. I'd save them and store them in plastic containers, plastic bags and plastic containers, and that allows the moisture to stay inside with the seeds. Common sense, simple biology or chemistry is it? And then it allows fungus or mould to grow and spread. You need to keep the seeds as dry as possible. So once I harvest them and dry them out, I put them in a brown paper bag that is open rather than closed. I used to think you put them in a sealed bag and bung them in the fridge and that would be the way to go, but it didn't work. Right, so let's get cracking on what I do. It's very simple. So all you need is the bowl you put your seeds in, a sieve and a towel to lay your seeds on to dry afterwards. The one thing you don't want to use, which again I did first, was use a paper towel to leave your seeds on to dry, because they all get stuck to it. Even newspaper, when I've tried that, they tend to get stuck to it and all the bits of newspaper peel off with your seeds. Anyway, let's get into this. We do separate your seeds from the pulp just with some water, cold water, as much as you can. Once you've done this, that's pretty much all of them. The rest are probably too small anyway. I have got a pasta drainer that also, I might go through that first and then through the sieve after. I'll show you what I mean. It all makes sense in the end. Right, that you can get rid of. If anyone's got a use for that, please let me know. So my little pasta drainer thingy, or whatever this is, vegetable drainer, through that first, and again you've got a load of orange flesh in there. Just give it a jiggle till it separates. So you've got mostly seeds in the bottom. You want to lose as much of this flesh as possible, but this does the trick most of it. Once separated, see it keeps hold of them. Once you separate it, just remove it, and the reason for that is obviously that is what will rot and attract mould and fungi, whereas the seeds will just dry out. But if you're drying out the seeds over the next couple of days, that should be fine. It's just what happens when you're storing them for use. So that's the reason you want to get rid of as much of this stuff as possible. So once you're in about this situation, in terms of the amount of pulp left in, you're pretty much ready to go. much ready to go. Now, I was going to pause this video and get rid of all the pulp and come back, but I kind of wanted to do it in real time so you can see that it literally takes a matter of minutes to save these seeds. And then the last thing you do is literally just lay them out. And remember, this is half my pumpkin, so it's really double the amount of seeds, but there's probably enough seeds here for next year's crop, probably. But I'll also save the seeds from the other half of this shortly as well. So you just spread them out. Try not to leave them on top of each other because they will stick together and it might damage them pulling them apart. And that flesh will dry and just come off when it's dry. As I said, try and get as much. You might spend a bit more time doing that rinse process. Get rid of as much flesh as possible, but it tends to just die away while they dry out. And you just leave this here 3 or 4 days, give them a shake. After a couple of days, I've got a cardboard box. They're dry enough to transfer to a cardboard box or something like that, like a small cardboard box about this size. You can see that, about that size. And they can sit in there and dry out, and then once they're dry, put them in a paper bag, and I store them outside in my shed. And that, my friends, is it. It is that simple. The only thing, I know I said I waited until I actually successfully stored some seeds, but I haven't actually grown anything. I haven't actually grown anything with the seeds that I've stored yet. Perhaps I should have waited until I grew something, but I think they'll be fine. And all I'll do when I plant them is just soak them overnight in a bit of water maybe, and then pop them in pots and see what happens with a bit of that and a bit of that. Alright, so this is 2 and a bit days later. And as you can see, everything's dried out. You do have to give them a bit of a move around while they're drying out in case anything's stuck to the cloth, which is what I did. And it's a fairly decent success rate. The only issue I've got is there's a few that are stuck together. Not many though, because I can't even find any to show you. These two are stuck together, but that's not even bad. Sometimes they stick together, that outer protective layer peels off when you take them apart, but they're fine. So either I would put them in a plastic bag, but previous to that, normally before, these have dried out really well, normally before that I was chuck them in a cardboard container like this, and then I'll transfer them to a brown paper bag, like the ones you get from your local greengrocers, basically. Let me just take that apart. A brown paper bag, and that's what I store them in, so that they get plenty of airflow, basically. And that is it. Saved seed. That's not a bad little lot. And that's from, I think it was half the pumpkin, wasn't it? So there you go. It's not even all of them. So that's what I'll be planting this year. Fingers crossed. I'll be doing it next year again.